Hey there, welcome to another edition of What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. I'm your host, Pete Pardo, publisher and CEO of SOT. Happy Halloween, everybody. Yes, that's right. It's October 31st, and we're back at you pretty quick. We've got so much stuff coming out now. Like I said last week, you would think as we're inching towards the end of the year that this shit would slow down a little bit, but it's not. New stuff coming out. Seems like every single day getting thrown at us, so we've got a lot to cover. Let's dive right into it. So first we're going to go look at a couple releases from a label that we've been working with for quite a while. It's Cruz Del Sur. Many of you metal fans, I'm sure, love the releases they put out. It's another one of those labels that just consistently release real classic metal sounds from bands that either, a little bit of doom, classic metal, proto-metal type of stuff, some thrash. They kind of do it all, a little progressive metal. So these three releases they've just come out with are excellent. I want to make sure we give them some love. So the first is from a band that I really dig a lot. They're from Finland. The band is called Mausoleum Gate. It's Into a Dark Divinity. That's the new one right there. If you have not listened to Mausoleum Gate, you are really missing out. They have a love for like classic metal from like the late 70s, early 80s. Touches of doom, but more importantly, lots of progressive rock. So if you love big fat guitar riffs and Hammond organ and Mellotron and Moog and extended lead guitar work, all that kind of stuff, you're going to love these guys. Think little bits of Deep Purple and Uriah Heep and some Black Sabbath and maybe a little Merciful Fate and occasionally some Thin Lizzy, all sorts of, a little Hawkwind maybe. They kind of throw it all together, add in some Genesis from time to time, maybe a little Yes, that sort of thing. Really, really cool. Some nice epic songs on here. Again, if you love that heavy, crunchy guitar and Hammond organ pairing with some Mellotron floating around in the back, some synth, and then at times they just bust into some really cool, like early 80s metal mashes. Really, really good stuff. Not a lot of tunes on here, like I said. Most of them are pretty long, but really good band if you haven't discovered them yet. Their last couple of releases were also very strong. I really dig this one a lot. I think it's probably my favorite by them. Check it out. Next one, band from Pennsylvania called Argist from Fields of Fire. Fantastic album. Kind of upbeat doom, right? Epic doom, but not like really the real slow, ponderous type. More of like a kind of upbeat, majestic type of doom. Killer guitar work, strong vocals. The songs are instantly memorable, anthemic, just really engaging. I dig this a lot. If you like your doom a little bit more upbeat, seek out these guys, Argus. They're a fantastic band. Do not miss that one. Next one is a split release. Two bands. So we've got the Hands of Orlac and the Wandering Midget. All right, two separate bands there. We got three songs, right? Three songs from the former, one from the latter. Hands of Orlac are kind of like an occult, sort of doomish type of band. So they play like a traditional metal style with female vocals, some occult themes. Very, very strong. The tunes on here are quite good. And then, four tunes by them, and then one song by the other. So they're basically for the Occult of Orlac, or the Hands of Orlac, sorry. Two of the tunes are kind of lengthy. The other two are like kind of little short, little instrumental interlude type of thing. And then you've got the Wandering Midget, which is a hilarious name. I can't believe they get away with that. You've got like an 18-minute track, which is, doomy with mix with space rock and very, very cool. So I like it. If you've never heard of either band before, here's a great way to kind of experiment a little bit, get a taste of both of them. So Cruz Del Sur music, check them out. A lot of great releases on there. Next, we're going to go over to Moon June Records. Our buddy Leo over at Moon June Records is for many, many years puts out a lot of really cool like jazz and avant-garde and progressive rock and fusion type releases. So this one is called Lighthouse. It's from the trio of Wingfield, Reuter, and Sirkus. You might recognize those names. Of course, it's Mark Wingfield, Marcus Reuter, and Asaf Sirkus on guitar, stick, and drums respectively. I'm sorry, not stick, touch guitar for Mr. Reuter. So, awesome stuff, all instrumental, dark, menacing, instrumental rock and prog and fusion, little bits of jazz, think like kind of an instrumental King Crimson. mixed with like Tear J. Ripdahl. That's kind of what I said in my review, and I stand by it. You know, dissonant guitar chords and solos and interesting textures and soundscapes and lead work from the touch guitar. Awesome drumming. Really, really good stuff. If you like dark progressive rock with bits of, you know, menacing jazz, I highly recommend. This is a very cool little presentation too. It's kind of like a little mini LP sleeve type of thing. There's the guys there. Very, very cool. Mujun Records. Check it out. Lighthouse. From there, we're going to go over to Finland. We're going to go back to Finland again for a release from a guitar player who used to be in a band from the late 70s called Finnforest. They were kind of like an instrumental jazz rock fusion prog band. If you've never dipped into the music of Finnforest, check them out. They're very, very interesting. I have a couple of their albums. This is from the guitar player Pekka Telelman and his new band called Quartz Eagle. It's pretty much all instrumental. Jazz, some jazz rock on there. Not much prog here. It's kind of most of the tunes feature Pekka on acoustic guitar. There are some occasional bursts of electric guitar mayhem on here, which are very cool, but he's a fantastic acoustic player. There's saxophone on here. It's a very, very cool kind of modern melodic jazz album. All right. If you like that sort of thing, like I said, they're more in the acoustic vein, but there is some electric stuff going on here, some keyboards from time to time. It's a very good album, very, very solid. I dig it a lot. The instrumentation is fantastic. The songs are memorable. The sax work is brilliant, and there's some expert guitar playing on here. So if that sounds appealing, highly investigate it. You'll dig it. This next one really surprised the hell out of me because I haven't listened to this band in a while, but I've always liked their earlier material. I'm talking about Savoy Brown. Kim Simmons and Savoy Brown, Witchy Feeling is their latest. Rockin' blues, heavy blues rock, blistering guitar work. I'm telling you, Mr. Simmons can still play. He is just wailing on the guitar all over this. I dig it a lot. There's a bunch of tunes on here. There's 11. They fluctuate from, you know, normal, what you'd expect, blues rock to some like 70s sounding stuff, as well as a little bit of psychedelia. There's a tune on here where he just cranks up the wah-wah and goes into some like Jimi Hendrix explorations. Really fun. Like I said, great guitar work. His vocals, he's got that kind of mid-range baritone. He sounds a little bit like Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits, but really good tunes. Some slow blues, some upbeat stuff, some cranking blues rock. I really like this a lot. Probably one of the best kind of blues rock albums I've heard this year from an old timer. He's not that old. He's 69. He was a pretty young guy, teenager, when he started Savoy Brown back in the mid 60s. So I expected him to be like in his early mid 70s, but he's actually hasn't hit 70 yet. So good going, Mr. Simmons. You've done a great job, you and your trio here. So investigate that one. So we've got a boatload of like kind of Blu-ray, DVD, video type of things here, which I want to talk about. All excellent. The first one is by a band that is one of my favorite prog bands, has been for a long, long time. And this is a release. All right, so Gentle Giant. That's what we're talking about here. So many of you know that the great Steven Wilson has been remastering some of the mid-period Gentle Giant catalog in recent years. Done a fantastic job on it. A lot of people have been saying, hey, but what about like the first 3 albums? You know, Gentle Giant, Acquiring the Taste, and Three Friends. So the story is that a lot of the master tapes have gone missing, which is the reason why we haven't seen like full-blown remasters or remixes of these albums. But in the last couple of years, they have found some of the masters, some of the tapes from those original sessions. Not all of them. So they basically, what they've done, the band has put together this little set called 3-Piece Suite. Basically takes the 9 tracks, I believe it's 9, right? Yeah, 9 tracks that they have been able to find, multi-track reels. Steven Wilson then took those and remixed them, in addition to the song Freedom's Child, which is a song that the band recorded, kind of like a demo song, before they actually went and recorded the first album. So it's almost like, you know, the Simon Dupree band formed Gentle Giant, and then recorded this Freedom's Child song, which is kind of neat, but you can tell that the band really haven't kind of found their way yet, but still for historical purposes, kind of cool. But, you get on here some classic tunes from the first 3 albums. Again, not all of them, obviously, but you've got Giant, Nothing at All, Why Not, Pentagruel's Nativity, which is great, The House, The Street, The Room, School Days, Peel the Paint, Mr. Class and Quality, and 3 Friends. So, obviously, if you're a Gentle Giant fan, you know those are all classic tunes. Here, remixed. It's fantastic. Sounds really good. Yeah, and what's interesting, this is the Blu-ray set, right? So, this has a CD with all of the audio on it in remixed stereo. And then if you go onto the Blu-ray, you get all of the DTS remixes that you can play on a Blu-ray, as well as instrumental versions of those songs, which is pretty cool to listen to, as well as all the flat transfers of all 3 of the albums in their entirety, which is kind of neat, all in one package. So I like it. If you listen to the flat transfers, which for most of you, if you got the old Gentle Giant CDs, you know what they sound like. Never the best sounding albums, but still for all the cool instrumental stuff that's going on there, all the little intricate musical bits and vocals and what have you, it's pretty, for its time, way ahead of its time. But then you listen to Steven Wilson's remixes of some of those songs, a lot brighter, a lot more clarity. You hear a little definition between the instruments. Okay, hear little vocal bits maybe you didn't hear before. Some vocals a little higher. Sometimes the instruments are a lot. So it's very cool if you're familiar with Steven's remixes on, the Gentle Giant catalog and Tull and King Crimson, so on, Yes, and so on and so forth. He does a great job, and that's the case here. So my recommendation, don't just get the CD version, get the CD Blu-ray version, because you're going to want to go put this in your home theater system and really crank it up so you can hear exactly all the little things that he's done, in addition to having all of the original 3 albums on a Blu-ray that you can play through your Blu-ray system. So pretty damn cool. I highly recommend that. So from there, we got a whole bunch of Eagle Rock things here. So we're going to start off with Jeff Beck live at the Hollywood Bowl. Celebrating 50 years of Jeff Beck recorded material. This is absolutely fantastic, stunning stuff. You've got the whole concert at the Hollywood Bowl on Blu-ray, as well as 2 CDs. Jeff and his band, as well as special guests Beth Hart and Steven Tyler and Billy Gibbons and Jan Hammer. Doing all sorts of stuff from throughout his career. So you get a bunch of Yardbird tunes. You get also Jimmy Hall from Wet Willie sings on here as well. So you've got stuff from the Yardbirds. You've got a whole bunch of tunes from Jeff's early mid-70s instrumental albums with Jan Hammer and company. You get some guitar shop stuff here. You get all sorts of things, as well as some cool covers. There's a full band jam on Prince's Purple Rain at the end as the encore, which is just amazing. Beth Hart just rules. She's such a great singer. So I highly recommend this. Beck's guitar work is stellar as always. The guy just keeps getting better and better. Guy's in his 70s, and he still outperforms so many other guitar players out there. It's not even funny. So, I absolutely love this. So if you're a Jeff Beck fan, you owe it to yourself to check that out. Next, Rolling Stones From the Vault, Sticky Fingers live from 2015 at the Fonda Theater. Pretty cool. The band, this was a tour they did a couple years ago. The band played at the Fonda in Los Angeles, in Hollywood actually, and basically ran through the whole Sticky Fingers album. They had never done that before. They don't do it from start to finish in the actual order of the album, but they do kind of mix it around a little bit, and the show is bookended by Start Me Up and Jumpin' Jack Flash, which is pretty cool. A couple other tunes thrown there as well. It's a fun show. The band is in top form here, Jagger and company is still going strong, and these guys are not getting any younger. And you get the whole thing on CD as well as the Blu-ray. There's little interview bits in between a lot of the songs, so it's not like you can just play the whole concert on the Blu-ray through and through, but you have the whole concert on the CD. So, but top-notch stuff from Eagle Rock as always. One last Eagle Rock, or Eagle Vision, whatever you want to call it. I think Eagle Vision is the video division, right? The Who play All of Tommy live at the Royal Albert Hall. Believe it or not, this was the first time ever that the band played every single track from Tommy, the album complete album in its entirety. I was actually kind of surprised at this because, you know, the Who played Tommy at Leeds on the first of the where they released Tommy. They did those Tommy tours where they played the album. Also at the Isle of Wight, they played what I thought was all of Tommy. But, you know, when you really get down to it and really look at it carefully, they always eliminated like 2 or 3, maybe 4 of the real short tracks in there. So they never actually played the entire Tommy until this show, which was basically a charity show for the Teenage Cancer Trust that singer Roger Daltrey works pretty closely with. So pretty cool to hear all of Tommy. And then at the end, of course, they play a whole handful of Who classics within the confines of the legendary Royal Albert Hall. So what a wonderful place. I would love to go there one of these days and see a concert there. But, you know, the guys are still, I'm telling you, 50 years later, man, the Who are still, they can still do it. Daltrey sounds great on here, better than I've heard him in years. And, you know, Townsend is Townsend. You know, Zach Starkey on drums, incredible. Pete's brother Simon on rhythm guitar and vocals. It's just classy stuff. And great video and audio quality on all those Eagle Rock releases. So from there, we're going to go to Uriah Heep, Raging Through the Silence, the 20th anniversary concert live at the London Astoria from 1989. This comes on CD and DVD. It's a great set. Basically, you know, the band kind of revamped in the around 1986 or 87. You got Bernie Shaw and Phil Lanzon joining the band on vocals and keyboards, right? And joining the long-standing, you know, Mick Box. And who else we got? It's also Trevor Bolder on bass, formerly of Ziggy and, you know, David Bowie and company. He has actually been in and out of the band numerous times, and unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, but also a long-standing member of the band on bass. This is great. So they play a bunch of selections from their Raging Silence album, which came out right around that time. First new album from them in a number of years, and as well as stuff from the Peter Golby era of Heep, the early mid-'80s, so, you know, Abominog and those albums, as well as a bunch of Heep classics, you know, so of course you've got Stealin' and The Wizard, July Morning, Gypsy, Easy Livin', you know, Look at Yourself, as well as some of the other 80s material. Really good performance by the band. Red hot, good quality on this. This apparently was originally released just as a VHS, so the band are busy trying to make sure they officially release everything from their back catalog and make it available again. So, yeah, highly recommend that. Last one we got for today is this awesome Blu-ray from Udo Dirkschneider and his band. It's called Live Back to the Roots Accepted. Why is it called Accepted? Because, of course, Udo is on this long world tour playing all those Accept favorites for the very last time, or at least that's what he says. So here you have Udo and his wonderful band, you know, laying into so many Accept classics. You know, I mean, they're all here. You know, Balls to the Walls and Princess of the Night and, you know, Jesus, they're all here. They're all here, folks. You know, it's every Accept tune that you'd want to hear is included on here, and it's a long set. It's I mean, this whole show is what, about 2 hours, I believe, something like that. And you know, basically every song you'd want to hear him do, he does. Fast as a Shark, you know, all that stuff, all the classic Neon Nights, it's all here, and performed admirably. You know, he still sounds like Udo. He's got that gravelly croak, right? Ripping guitar work from his 2 Shredmeisters there, and his son's on drums. It's just a really, really cool, well-shot concert. Sound is amazing. This is one you just crank up. Put it on your Blu-ray and just crank it up from our folks over at AFM Records, who always do a spectacular job. So that's the last new one we've got for today, as my dog decides to come up and join the show. Forgotten Favorites, ignore her. Where we take a look at a favorite of mine from yesteryear. I'm going to look at the band Jane, German hard rock and proggers Jane, who released a bunch of stellar albums throughout the 70s. This is Here We Are. This is actually their second album. I believe this was from, what, 72? 73? Great stuff. If you've never checked out Jane, heavy Hammond organ, keyboards, ripping guitar. Kind of think early Deep Purple meets a little bit of Eloy, a little Pink Floyd, bits of Heep, that sort of thing. Some of it's bluesy, some of it's good early heavy rock and proto-metal, some of it's just straight prog, some of it's classic rock, did a little bit of everything. So if you like that sort of thing, I know some of you do, you know I love it. I highly recommend this album as well as all the early Jane albums. You really can't go wrong with any of them, from the first to the late 70s. All this stuff is just classic stuff, and just really good shit. I dig it. Anyway, that's all I got for today. We crammed a lot into 20 minutes. I am your host, Pete Pardo. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. Of course, we're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, here on the mighty YouTube as often as we possibly can. Join us next time for some more new stuff and some more dips into my forgotten favorites. Till then, make sure you go check out reviews of all this stuff on our website. But don't forget the classics, of course. See you next time. Take care.